Good afternoon, everybody. I am here with Casey Fitch with SMC Corporation of North America. She is the Talent Acquisition Manager. Thank you, Casey, for being here and for your willingness to participate in this question and answer session.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us about SMC and the work that gets done there?
Absolutely. So I always like to joke with people that SMC is one of the largest companies that no one's ever heard of. And part of that has to do with the business that we're in. So the company itself actually started in Japan in the late 50s. And then we opened up the North American headquarters in Indiana in 1972. It's always been in Indiana. It's just kind of shifted around from a couple of different cities, from Shelbyville to Lawrence. And now we have our permanent structure in Noblesville that was built in 2009. The easiest way to describe what we do is basically we manufacture components and parts for automation and robotics. So really, when you look at it, any industry, any company, any organization that has some kind of automated process or some kind of robotics doing a human task, we make the parts for them. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people aren't familiar with us, because it's all business to business relationships. It's not us directly selling to the consumers. Now, most likely all of you or most people have purchased products that were built using SMC components. So you've had some interaction with SMC, you just may never have known it. So how our structure works is actually globally, we have 83 countries that have some kind of national headquarters, subsidiary, and we control about 30% of the market share globally. So we're a pretty substantially large player in the industry, in the field of work that we do. Here in North America, the North American headquarters controls and oversees all of the manufacturing, distribution, and sales for the continental United States and Canada. And we have the North American headquarters in Indiana, and then basically 26 brick and mortar branch offices spread across the continental United States and Canada that support our technical salespeople in the field. So to kind of give you an idea, depending on territory, obviously, but some of our clients include Tesla, Ford, GM, Johnson & Johnson, Kraft, Coors, Disney, pretty much any of the major players you can think of that has some type of automated process, we work within that space. But again, we even work with small, like mom and pop or family organizations that have, less than 50 employees because they have a very small automated process or they have a robotic or something along those lines. So definitely a lot of variety in the type of work and industries that we get to work within, and therefore a pretty vast amount of products that we then manufacture to work within all those organizations.
So what positions are you hiring for full-time? And then also maybe if you do have some part-time, what are you hiring for in that regard as well?
Absolutely. So we, one thing that I definitely want to talk about that we're always constantly hiring for is this really great program that we have for our entry-level technical salespeople. So we realized a number of years ago, because of the vastness of what we do, not only the amount of industries we work with, but the vast amount of products that we have, it's a lot of information for our technical salespeople to learn by the old model of just come on board, job shadow a more seasoned person for however long, and then basically kind of saying, here's your territory, here's your accounts, see you later, good luck. Not the easiest model to be successful in. So we realized we needed to create a better training program for newer people in a technical sales role. And when I say technical sales, it is sales positions, but it's more so problem solving. It's more so being that solution oriented person in the field with those clients, kind of working more alongside as a partnership, and giving them what SMC solution we could potentially present to them for either a problem that they're having or a change that they want to make in their system. So just kind of give you a really quick example. For example, we had a client that was in food and beverage packaging, and they were having an issue with static electricity being built up in the plastic that like the bread loaves would go into. It was kind of gumming up the line and gumming up the system. He had a conversation with the account rep that was in charge of that account for SMC and said, here's our problem. What do you have? That account rep got with our design engineers and our research and development team, because we didn't have an exact solution for them at that time. Got with them and developed basically a small box fan. Looks like a little personal fan that just blows negative ions over that plastic and gets rid of the static charge. Simple as that. And so it's more so that problem solving than it is just, here's a product, you want to buy it. So again, going back to that training piece, what we developed is what we call our sales academy. So how the process works is initially you would interview with myself and the manager of wherever you would want to live, because again, this is for anywhere in the continental United States. So it's not necessarily here just in Indiana. If you are looking to relocate to Atlanta, Texas, California, Florida, Boston, whatever, we have locations there. So initially you would interview with those managers, and if they like you and you like them and they extend you an offer, you actually spend the first, it's just under 6 months, it's 22 weeks of training at the North American headquarters in Noblesville. And it is 22 weeks of extensive training. You're brought in as a full-time employee, so it's a paid training. Your first day of work is as a full-time position with us. And it's going to be extensive product knowledge training, and then all aspects of like sales training, all aspects of SMC, about the manufacturing process. So then that way, once you're done with the training and you go out into the field to work in the territory that you had originally interviewed with, you have a really good, solid foundation to kind of build and develop your career off of. So we do that academy twice a year, every year. So every January and every July. And we have 48 spots every course. So every January and every July, we hire 48 people for each of those sessions. So that is a constant program that we hire for, 96 people every year. And we do it with those two different sessions, because then that way we can hit May graduates or even December graduates, or, somebody that graduated in May and then decided to, take some time off before going into a career. So that's a huge hiring piece for SMC, because obviously with the type of work that we do, being in an automation industry, obviously that's not going anywhere, and only more and more companies are becoming more automated. And obviously we have a very large group of employees that are looking to be retirement age here soon. And that's a lot of really great knowledge and experience that we need to transfer into our newer salespeople in the field as well. So there's definitely a high demand and a high need for technical salespeople in the field too. So that's a really huge hiring piece that we are always looking for, is people that want to do that type of technical sales. From a background standpoint, I have tons of different varieties of people that come into that program. Obviously, we have people that come in with like business administration, marketing, sales, communication type degrees. We have some people that come with more technical degrees like mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, and realize they don't want to be sitting at a desk all day. But I've had people come in that I have a girl who is doing phenomenal, and her degree was in nutrition. We've had people that had agricultural science backgrounds. We've had people in, finance backgrounds, HR backgrounds. So really, the degree is not a huge, yes, we always want it to be something kind of relatable, but at the same time, it's more so soft skill based hiring. So, do you enjoy talking to people? Do you want variety? Do you not want to be sitting at a computer for 8 hours every day? So, can you be able to understand and at least have a conceptual understanding of like technicalities and a little bit of engineering, and be a perpetual student? So there's tons of variety. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, we only consider people with, a sales and marketing degree or an engineering degree. So that's a huge piece of our hiring. Then obviously at the North American headquarters in Noblesville, everything is housed there. So besides the technical sales people in the field, everything else is there. So we have a huge engineering department, obviously. So anyone that ever has any type of engineering interest, our marketing department sits there as well. And we have obviously a pretty extensive marketing department due to not only the digital media, the print media, the constant marketing of the new products that we have coming that are obviously always coming out. But we do about 150 different conventions across the continental United States every year, whether it's like for example, the automotive industry, manufacturing conventions, or food and beverage packaging, and the marketing department, maintains and updates all of those items for the different conventions. So that all sits there as well. And then obviously, operations, logistics, all of that sits at the North American headquarters. So depending on, what's available at the time, I would say probably two areas we hire the most for are going to be that sales academy piece. And then usually it's going to be something more on the operations, logistics, and engineering side from a full-time standpoint. Part-time, we typically don't have a lot of part-time positions come in. Most of the positions that we're going to have from a full-time standpoint are going to be, a full-time 40-hour work week. Pretty rarely do we have any part-time positions available.
What about internships? Does SMC have an internship program?
We do. Basically, we have, I would say the one department that obviously has the most of the internships are always going to be engineering. We hire about 15 to 20 engineering interns every summer. But in all of the other departments and divisions that we have across marketing, training, logistics, operations, accounting, finance, they typically will hire one or two in per department per summer. It kind of depends on the demand and the need of that department. So the thing that's really nice about our internship programs is they're very flexible. So it's not a hard start-stop date. It's not like, hey, if you can't work the full, 8 to 10 weeks, you can't be part of the program. We have the capability of being very flexible. So I've had some of our interns do a shorter program where it's only 5 to 6 weeks. I've had some interns do 10 to 12 weeks. I've had some do now that is where an area we could do a part-time intern, or, somebody that wants to do full-time. Even locally, we've had people that, did their full internship in the summer months, but then continued on even during school part-time, mixing in between their classes where they're able to still continue to work, a couple of hours or a number of hours every week to either continue on with the project they were doing or just to get some additional money coming in while they're still in school. So we can be very flexible in regards to that schedule as well, which makes it very, very nice. So it's not like you're missing out on, the program if you're not able to do the full 10 weeks or whatever. They are paid internship programs. So depending on the year you are in school and what you're studying will depend on what that hourly rate looks like. And then all of our internship programs, any intern that comes and works with us, they're always going to be working directly on projects that a full-time employee would be working on. So they're very hands-on internships. It's not just paper shuffling. It's not just busy work. Like they genuinely, regardless of the department that you're in, they genuinely want you to get a real world experience of what it's like to do this type of work within this organization or within this type of industry. All the interns are assigned a mentor. So you have obviously your normal manager, but you also have a mentor that you can kind of go to help troubleshoot, answer questions. Maybe, if the student doesn't feel 100% comfortable going up to their manager and saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, they could go to their mentor and have that kind of conversation. So it's a nice kind of intermediary to be able to be that additional support person for them while they're here working for us too.
What do you look for in a candidate, whether it's a full-time or for an internship?
I think regardless of what department you're in with our organization, you have to very much have that number one kind of perpetual student mentality, the constant learner, because of the work that we do. I mean, obviously, we are always having to come up with new innovations. We are always having to make changes. We are always having to, adjust depending on what the market demands. Right now is a perfect example. We have, like I mentioned earlier, we have some of our divisions and some of the companies that we work with have slowed a lot, but we have like our medical device company and our food and beverage packaging companies. The orders are going through the roof because that demand is so much higher now. So being able to constantly be adaptable and being willing to learn and make those adjustments is so key and so important. not that we don't want people to be able to prioritize and have plans and plan ahead and be that organizer type to be like, okay, here's my plan of attack for tomorrow. This is what I want to get done. But that willingness to be able to turn on a dime and say, okay, well, that plan is out the window now. And now I need to go and adjust and reprioritize. That's so important. And then being able to, constantly learn about what new products we have come out, what new problems have we been able to solve for the clients that we have, what innovations can we make for them. That's imperative because that's the bread and butter of what we do, is coming up with new innovative solutions.
What kinds of career growth opportunities are there? So if I'm an internship, or if I do come in as a full-time employee, what does growth within SMC look like?
Yep. So employee retention is extremely important to SMC, and a lot of that has to come from the ability to have career progression without having to leave the organization. So regardless of what department or division or title that you have here at SMC, there is a constant push for continued education, continued growth, career path opportunities. All of our managers are very good about communicating and having open dialogue with their employees. And if, employee says, I would really like to be in this job title by year 5. Our managers are really good about going, okay, great. Well, let's figure out what that trajectory looks like. Let's figure out what that career path looks like for you to be able to get into that position by, your goal year or something like that. So that's one of the reasons why when you talk to some of the people that have worked for us, we have people that have been with us 15, 20, 25, 30 plus years, is because we have that career growth opportunity here. And even still, like I had kind of mentioned earlier, because we're constantly learning and we're constantly, developing new things, there's still that career growth, even sometimes without even having to change a title or changing a department. Like, you're still expanding, you're still being able to improve and learn more and build your experience and your knowledge because of what we do. So that's a super important path for us. And a lot of our departments obviously are intercollaboratory. So I've had people that have started in the engineering department and then ended up transitioning into a technical sales position because they've taken their technical knowledge and now they want to go out into the field and work with the clients on that. I've had people that were technical salespeople that ended up transitioning into the marketing department because now they know, they've been in the field, they've worked with the clients, they've, done the sales piece, they know the product. Well, now they're in the marketing side and they're able to kind of market those products in a different way. So there's so much interdepartmental opportunity to kind of transition around as well. So it's not necessarily like you're pigeonholed into a specific career path. If that's like, if you start as a technical salesperson that you have to live and breathe and all you ever do for the rest of your career with SMC is technical sales. That's not necessarily the case. And the same thing is true from a geographic standpoint, especially with our technical salespeople, is, let's say, for example, you initially start in a technical sales role at the Boston branch. Life happens and you find yourself having to relocate to Atlanta. You can have that interdepartmental or that interbranch transfer. And so that's another reason you're not necessarily even tied down geographically. So if life happens or you end up having to move or something, you find yourself having to be in a different territory or a different area, we have a lot of that mobility as well. So we really do pride ourselves on that employee retention piece. And I kind of joke with people all the time, like, we try to give you as many reasons to not have to go somewhere else for a job.
Why do you like working for SMC?
So one of the things that I think makes SMC special is when you look at it, when you look at the organization, it is this large, massive global operation. I mean, we have 83 countries we work within. We control 30% of the market share, pretty much any industry we work within. I mean, it feels like this big, giant global company, but when it really comes down to it, the work environment feels like family business. And it's because it is a family business. I mean, that's how it started in Japan. And it still to this day has that feel. Everyone knows everyone by their first name. It sounds cliche, but we genuinely have an open door policy. If you want to go down the hall and have a meeting with the president of the company, you absolutely can. So being able to have that type of supportive environment and and to know that we are all in it together and we are all there to accomplish a goal and accomplish a task and make the lives of our customers and our clients better. You get that feeling and you get that vibe every day. And I think that's rare. It's rare sometimes. More and more companies are transitioning that way and making more of that inclusive and positive type of environment. But being able to be part of an organization that has the global stability that we do, working in such an innovative type of industry and still have that type of family team oriented environment, is phenomenal and rare in a lot of cases nowadays.
If somebody is interested, what should the next steps for them be?
Absolutely. So obviously, probably the easiest way to kind of get more information about what could be potentially next steps or what positions we have that could be available is genuinely just reaching out to me via email. And my email address, it's pretty simple. It's just K as in kangaroo, and then Finch like the bird, F as in Frank, I, N as in Nancy, CH at smcusa.com. If they want to send me an email, whether you include an updated resume, but just kind of telling me a little bit about like the type of work someone is interested in, I can then point them in the right direction. Simply because, like I said, we have so many different departments, so many different divisions, so many different opportunities that sometimes it can get daunting to try to figure out who to contact. So that's usually the easiest way, is to just get into touch with me and communicate with me on what maybe piques your interest. And then I can reach out and let you know what opportunities we do have, get you in touch with those managers that have opportunities that could be a fit with what you're looking for, and then kind of collaborate from there.
Awesome. I will ask if anybody else on here has any questions, and then hopefully you'll be able to answer those. And that was all of the questions that I had for you. So if anybody else has any, feel free to chime in.
I had a couple of quick questions. And for one, I actually had a huge list of questions, and you guys just nailed them because I was going through like, oh my gosh, they've answered like all of these. But for one, you had mentioned that you guys were in, I think you said 83 different countries. I wondered if you guys worked with, we have international students that are on campus that are looking for opportunities both for internship and then also certainly when they graduate, there are many that would like to stay here, which I know down the road requires sponsorship. I didn't know if that was anything that you guys had a program or anything established for.
So with our internship program, we do have the flexibility of having the students come and work for us during the summer months. I will say from a basis, we do not sponsor. We have to have either a U.S. citizenship or an appropriate work related visa that does not require sponsorship from us. So that is one area that can get a little difficult with some international students. But at the same time, I always want to emphasize that if we have international students that are ever, here studying, but then ending up wanting to return back to their countries, after their education, I'm always willing to get them connected with the right people in those different subsidiaries that we have around the globe as well. I've worked with several students with some other colleges that came here to study and then are going back to like China or going back to Vietnam or to Germany. And I've gotten them connected with the appropriate people in those subsidiaries to then be able to find full-time employment there, still within SMC, but just within the different subsidiary around the globe.
Great. That was going to be my follow-up question to that if they can sponsor, so that's perfect. The other question I had was that the people on this call with the exchange, we work a little bit more closely with students who have a four-year degree, but we do have a two-year college that was started last summer, and we know that those students are looking for their internships look a little bit different, and I know it sounded like your program was pretty flexible. They're often looking for longer-term internship opportunities versus more their traditional semester, with the hope that if it's a good fit on either side, that the student might be able to stay on after. I didn't know if you required bachelor's degrees for all of your positions or if you had flexibility for two-year associates seeking positions too.
We absolutely are flexible in those scenarios. So a lot of the time, I will say the only absolute have to requirement is some kind of either high school diploma or equivalency, GED. That's the absolute have to. Above and beyond that, we can be very flexible. So I've had people start with us that have had associates. I've had people start with us, that only had a high school, but that came in and then did with some work, work programs. So we can be absolutely flexible in those types of scenarios. And in all honesty, we've had situations before where, if the job description prefers a bachelor's degree, but they have an associate's and then they obviously interned with us and they did phenomenal. Well, yeah, we're absolutely going to consider them for those opportunities. So it's by no means a requirement that they have to have a completed 4-year bachelor's degree.
That's great. Thank you. And final question, real quick. I think I said that was, but I have one more. I know that you said that Noblesville was the headquarters, which is really convenient given its proximity to where we're at. You might have shared this at the beginning, and if so, I apologize. But how many employees are there in total with SMC, and then how many at Noblesville specifically?
So we have at the North American headquarters, for North America, we have just over 1,600 employees total. About 1,000 of them, just a little over 1,000, are all at the headquarters in Noblesville. So the rest of those are all the 600 other are all the technical sales people kind of spread out across the United States. So yeah, we have about 1,000 plus people that come to the Noblesville location every day.
Very cool.
Yeah.
If anybody else on the call has any other questions, feel free to ask them now.
I don't have any questions. That was just all really great information, Casey. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's I always like chatting with people about it, because especially as we were talking about earlier, people drive by this big, giant, massive building on 146 and 37, and they're like, "What is that? What is that behind the curtain there?" So it's always fun to kind of talk about what we are and what we do, because it is an interesting company.
Casey, you mentioned that you guys just like the changes and everything with the food and beverage and medical supplies and all of that. Are you remote also? Are a lot of people working remote, or can your work be done remotely?
Most of the positions that we have here are still, in the office, in the field every day, simply because of the, with being a manufacturing and production company, like we have an output, we have to get a product out. So most of us are still very much working, in the offices, showing up every day. The thing that's really nice about our company and our organization, and for anyone that's ever had a chance to tour SMC, which is one of the things I found so amazing when I first went there for a manufacturing company. It is like the cleanest manufacturing company I've ever seen in my life. I had toured lots of other manufacturing companies before, and you're kind of thinking like the dirt and the grit and the typical manufacturing, and like that place was spotless, and it always has been that way. And so we're very fortunate in the fact that we've had pretty extensive protocols anyway in place, so that making the adjustments for everything that's going on with the pandemic right now hasn't been too dramatic for us. Obviously, being with our technical sales people out in the field, that's limited some of their capability of being out with their clients and being in front of them. But we're still able to get a lot of the work done that needs to be done for especially those clients that are making those life-saving devices and keeping the toilet paper on the shelves as much as they can for us.
We appreciate them.
Right, like we're trying. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a hard time right now, but it's also a very exciting time to see how we can innovate alongside with our clients. We actually, were really excited the other day when the Tesla had put out the announcement that they were, helping create the ventilators. Well, those are our parts. Those are our components that are help making those ventilators out there. And that's really exciting to be a part of that, and to be able to assist our clients that we do work with to help make those innovations and help make those adjustments that they have to try to, get us all through this right now.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I learned a lot about SMC. Hopefully everybody else did too, and whomever else will watch this will also learn a lot. And hopefully either students will come to one of us at the exchange and we can make that connection, or you gave out your email address. Thank you for that. And hopefully we'll continue this partnership.
Absolutely. And anything I can do in the meantime, feel free to reach out. It's always fun to hopefully once things settle down, anytime people want to come out and tour the facility as well. It's a really interesting organization to see the internal workings and everything. So, feel free to reach out to me at any point in time, anything I can help with or any other questions I can answer.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you guys so much. Nice meeting all of you.
Nice meeting you too.
Have a good rest of your day. Stay safe.
Thank you.
You
Bye.
too.